Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jim Knopf, and my partner in crime, Robin Lewis, is she has some family obligations this afternoon, so she's going to join us by phone here shortly. So I appreciate you guys carving out some time for us today for our first executive community of practice. This was born at the after the executive summit that we had back in March at U of I, or at the I Hotel actually, on the U of I campus. So we wanted to, we felt it would be a good thing to continue engagement and keep the upper management level of our six agencies apprised of what's happening within the project. Establish some dialogue and have some regular conversations about where we're at with our project. I'd like to start out before we get into our agenda. Dr. Dave Strouser, the project administrator, is with us today, at least for the beginning of the meeting, and he'd like to say a few words before we get started. Dave?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. And welcome everybody to the first community of practice, the executive community of practice. Excited about this format and this continued engagement moving forward. As Jim mentioned, the community of practice was born out of some work that was previously done with this group, your group, the executives of the agencies, our six 14C agencies across the state that we're working with. And I think the real key part that I see being critical here for the community practice, and I know we at the University of Illinois all feel strongly about this, is that not only do we need to provide the frontline staff with the support skills needed, but we also need to give a forum for the executives who are leading these agencies, charged with these agencies, direction and mission and goals, financial responsibilities, financial obligations, to have a forum themselves to engage each other and to support each other. And for us, importantly, at the University of Illinois, and also the Division of Rehab Services, to hear the issues that are impacting the delivery of our services, impacting the employment of people with disabilities across the state, and impacting the movement from sheltered workshops to community integrated employment. And this forum, this community practice is one of those components. Will not be the only component, because we always invite input and engagement, and our community resource specialists who are out visiting and developing the relationships with the organizations. The different activities that we do are all different forums for this, but this community of practice, we feel really strongly, is going to be a venue for continued engagement moving forward for the remaining 3 years of the project. So again, welcome everybody. Glad to see that there's a good group of people here. I will be tagging it along here for as much of this meeting as I can. And I'm going to turn it back over to Jim and to get the meeting rolling.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Also, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, Director Patrick, but DRS Director Ronnie Patrick is with us as well. I don't know if you want to say a few words and address the group before we get started.
Sure. Hi. Hey, everybody. How are you doing? My peers here in terms of leading organizations that have impact on people with disabilities. I'm looking forward to, I'm actually going to be going out to Galena in shortly to do some visits. So and I really had a great time over at AID earlier this month, and I'll be setting up other meetings with other folks in the coming months. So I'm really excited to be partnering with all of you, and I cannot wait to hear from you so that we can have great success in our project goals. So I love talking to people. I want to know all things people with disabilities, and so please reach out to me at any time with whatever's on your mind. So I'm super enthusiastic about learning with you. So please know that I'm very grateful for your leadership and really want to deepen our relationship. Thank you.
Thanks, Director. All right. I want to start the agenda before I start the agenda. I want to thank Janelle Hieronymus and Adriana DeSande Mendoza, who are our communications folks. We kind of put them behind the eight ball here with some technical issues about a half an hour before the thing started here. So they were frantically correcting our mistakes and getting this production back on its feet. So I want to thank them before we get started. Let's move, Adriana, if you'd move to the next slide, please. So first of all, why have a community of practice? What is the point of this? According to Wenger, there are 5 critical functions. First being to educate by collecting and sharing information, to support by organizing interactions and collaboration among members, to cultivate by assisting groups to start and sustain learning, encourage by promoting the work of members through discussion and sharing of ideas, and to integrate by encouraging members to use their new knowledge for real change in their own work. That's kind of why we're doing this. Next slide, Adriana. So what we're going to talk about today, this is kind of some of the talking points. We're going to provide you with some national measures, national project measures that have been laid out for us by RSA. We're going to do a recap of the state fiscal year 24, kind of where we were, what we did, what we accomplished. Talk about some of the expectations for the coming fiscal year. As you know, we've contracted with Virginia Commonwealth University to provide technical support and project support through the life of SWTC, and they kind of gave us some feedback and what their thoughts were as far as the state of the state when it comes to the SWTC Illinois projects. We're going to share some of that with you. We want to talk about some organizational pain points, and we want to kind of get your interaction on this and some of your candor about what you feel is good about the project, what might not be so good about the project, and how we can improve this moving forward. So that's going to be about 3/4 of the way through this. We want to get some active dialogue going there, and then to kind of talk about what some future community of practice topics might be, what you feel might be helpful from your level of the project, and how we can generate some meaningful conversations on a quarterly basis moving forward. So those are kind of some of our goals for today. Next slide. So when the SWTC project was put together, we wanted to address, and this is not new information to you, but it was broken down into 2 groups of people that we were intending to serve. One being folks who are currently working in sheltered workshops and working in sub-minimum wage and working in a sub-minimum wage environment, and then those who were contemplators. And by contemplators, we were primarily speaking to those transition youth that who were soon to be exiting secondary education, and whose IEPs or likely vocational outcomes were or will be sheltered work or supported employment at best. So those were the 2 main groups of people that we were intending to serve in this project. And then the subgroups of those, not surprisingly, are adults and youth. So we're going to be collecting data, and we're starting to do that on a more meaningful level, looking at what each customer, what their circumstances were at the point of VR application, and then where they were at the point of VR closure. And the hope is at VR successful closure. And we're going to be looking at 9/11 data that is provided to RSA to be able to measure how successful this project is. Next slide, please. Okay, Robin just joined us. I don't know, Robin, if you want to chime in at any point, or if you want me to continue on. But I don't want to leave you out. I know you're here for a limited amount of time, so I don't know if you want to speak a little bit to these next slides, or if you want me to continue. Okay. I'll take that as if she wants me to continue. All right. So, okay. So when we're looking at national measures, two big program measures that we're looking at, and this is not revolutionary information again, but I think it's meaningful to when we're speaking to the project, is the number of individuals who have been contacted about the project, versus the number of individuals who are actually enrolled in the project. And by enrollment, we mean that they become VR customers, and put into plan status with VR. So one of the five main project measures for the first, actually, year two of the project, which we're working on federal fiscal year now, October 1st of 23 to September 30th of 24, the project was to establish partnerships with at least 6 14C certificate holders, and those are the 6 that have been chosen, to create innovative, collaborative, and coordinated partnership model, provide a readily accessible, transformative business model. One of the main outcomes of this project, as we know, is to help those U6 agencies to transform your business model, and phasing out of for the business of 14C and sub-minimum wage, and moving individuals that you serve into competitive employment. Identifying and coordinate wraparound services within the community that will help customers. Big one being benefits planning, which we'll talk about here in a little while later. And then support integration in the community through competitive employment. Next slide, please.
Jim, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
All right. I'm happy to take it from here
Sure.
for a little bit while
Yep,
I can.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Did we skip 2 slides or just 1?
It was 2. Yeah, so we're on.
Okay. Okay.
Let's skip
So
to slide 7, I think, is where you want to pick up. There you go.
All right, good, perfect. Okay, so what we wanted to do was give kind of an agency recap. I think one of the things that as a project this big, it's easy to lose track and lose sight of what it is that we're working on and why we're here and what we're trying to accomplish. We have the national standards that we just spoke about, and that's the national project standards as a whole. Then we have our own project, just SWTC, Illinois. And then we have performance measures that are on the contractual level with DRS, and that's how you get your funding by meeting those contractual requirements. So this here is part of our program measures for the project as a whole. And I feel like I might have put the wrong title to this slide given the deliverables here, so I do apologize for that error. But these are project measures that we had for this fiscal year, and actually that should say federal fiscal year, because these are the program measures. Oh my goodness. So I'm a hot mess today. I do apologize. I'm going to correct that before we send it out to you so you have the right information. But so as a project, we have indicated that we as in U of I, are going to onboard key personnel in order to support this project. So this year, we have hired the evaluation specialist, the data manager, methodologist, liaison, employment specialist. So some of those position titles have changed, and we've kind of done a little bit of shifting, but those were the positions that were outlined in our work plan. We also outlined that that we'll provide as a project technical assistance to you agencies through ACRE certification and on-site technical assistance. We also dedicated ourselves to creating a project work group. So up to this point, it's just been the people directly with hands involved in the project that has been part of the work group, but we're looking to expand those partners and make kind of a statewide work group that includes members outside of the project directly. And then we also have the charge of collecting evaluation data. So we are working on those protocols, working on the WebCM generated reports and those sorts of things. So we're really close to being able to report out on those. Next slide. Okay, so this is actually agency recap of this year. So you all were supposed to engage at least 8 youth and adults combined who are contemplating or currently employed at sub-minimum wage. You're supposed to engage up to do individual assessments on all of the customers that are involved in the project, create new job descriptions if you need to for staffing purposes and for recruiting the employment specialists, and dedicate at least 2 agency personnel 100% of their efforts towards the SWITC project. Also, participate in training. Your 2 personnel were to complete ACRE certification and participate in all required trainings and evidence-based practices that we provide, professional development activities. So overall, I mean, we don't have, the results aren't all in. However, I feel like everybody has done a phenomenal job of meeting those contract deliverables. Next slide. Program requirements. We expect that you use the evidence-based practices that you're being taught in the project, and become an authorized DRS community rehab provider. Everyone was already a rehab provider on the onset coming in. So I think not for the fiscal year 25 contract, but for the next fiscal year contract, we'll change that to say, expanding your DRS contracts and your menu of services, maybe something along those lines. But everybody has met those program requirements, and we just ask that you're compliant with any data requests and any type of reports that we request of you. Outreach and collaboration. I know in your periodic performance review and your final review, you will indicate on those charts what your outreach events have been. And the two marketing materials that you were required to complete. So next slide. Overall, you're doing great. The project is doing phenomenal. 36% of our total engaged customers are placed into competitive integrated employment, which is exactly the direction we want to go. All those pretty lines on the chart you see are going in the right direction. So we just want to keep that momentum going. Right now, 43% of our VR customers are placed in competitive employment, which is wonderful. Next slide. So for the next project year, the deliverables for the SWTC project in the federal fiscal year, this will be our third year of the 5-year project. So we will continue to have a deliverable for personnel. So in the upcoming demonstration year, beginning October 1st, we're going to be working with the agencies to really kind of hone in and identify what your staffing needs are. So this project is growing, and maybe 2 employment specialists isn't going to cut it for your agency. So we want to be working with you to really examine how you can broaden the program and still be able to support your customers' employment needs. And then we will assess the need for additional project partners. So we've already started doing that, and in this project year, by expanding and including the benefit, Sandy Smith with Imagine for benefits planning, and then the Silties Media was also kind of a late addition. But we will continue to be flexible as we move through this project to add project partners as we see that they're needed. We'll continue with the technical support and training with each of your sites by including the VCU training team. We will expand that ACRE certification training to any new employees that you bring on or current employees that you have that you would like to get trained, to include your partnering school districts. We want to start getting some school district members trained in customized employment. We want you to expand and fully utilize those vocational RVR employment contracts. We're going to spend a lot of time working on that to make you the most efficient contract utilizers in the whole state. So that's our goal. And then we want to assist you with becoming partners with the Division of Developmental Disabilities so that you are able to bill the state for the largest amount of services as you can. We want you to take advantage of all that the state has to offer you in terms of funding. And we'll continue these community of practices for the executive staff. So next slide. Okay, like I said, we're going to continue the project work group and expand that. So what we're looking to do is, and I didn't really put, we just kind of had a eureka moment about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So we're still kind of fleshing out the idea, and those ideas I did not put into these bullet points, but we want to create a work group that gives us a unified strategy across the state. And the evaluation data, U of I evaluation team will be giving us some of those formative assessments from this first pilot year, and then giving some recommendations, I hope, on how we can, on things that we can change to make the demonstration years better. Next slide. I do want to also mention we'll have an on-site evaluation coming up the first of the year. So one of you will be the lucky site that's selected for RSA to come and visit and do an on-site visit. We don't have all the details for that yet, but those should be forthcoming in the next month or so. So as far as the agency deliverables go, they don't change much. The only one that really changes is the engagement piece, and we're asking you to engage at least 10 customers. I think that our focus this first pilot has been mostly on those customers that are in your workshops already. So I think this next part of the year we are going to focus on the youth, engaging those youth and the contemplators. The staffing is the same, but what I'll say about staffing is that your employment specialist job descriptions, I know we're working with one agency on how to better advertise for those positions and how to maybe look at other supporting job descriptions to make sure that they're all kind of in sync with one another and in support of competitive integrated employment. Next slide. Okay, so the program requirements, data and reporting, outreach and collaboration, those all remain the same deliverables as they were for this year. We expect you to be 100% engaged in the project, cooperate with data and reporting requirements, and commit to doing those outreach and collaboration. Next slide. All right, Jim, do you want me to keep going with the Virginia consultant feedback, or do you want to take some of this?
Sure. Yeah, I can take it.
Okay.
So as we talked, or as I mentioned earlier, we did get some feedback from our Virginia consultants about where we felt that the project was going, kind of what their thoughts were based on some of their experience in running projects similar to this. So the comments, most all positive, that the project is doing very well in terms of outcomes. So about 30%, as we mentioned before, just about 29% of all the engaged participants have been placed. And that it takes, with this disability type and this population, even with experienced employment specialists, which we have varying degrees of experience level with our ESs at the agency, that it takes in many cases 3 months or more to make a placement. So, and we've been at this only since October of 23, and really in earnest since January, when everyone almost at the time, all of the employment specialists who were employed had completed the ACRE certification training. So, so in actuality, we've been doing this in earnest for just about 7 months. The expectation, their feeling is that we should be able to move as a project, move over 40% of engaged participants into placement over the next fiscal year. So next slide. So by the end of the calendar year, the target is that we have 30 placements by the end of this calendar year. So we're at I believe we're at 20. So we're looking at 10 placements hopefully by New Year's Eve of 24. But we do need to show some improvement over the next 18 months. They feel like this should become placement should come quicker, because we do have we will be having staff that are more experienced and become more adept at working with this disability type. The feeling is that the overall management of this project, meaning internally and the leadership of the agencies, is a strong A. But that the personnel, meaning some of the frontline staff at some of the sites, have not changed their behavior, and we need to kind of figure out why that is. And have not responded. Some have not responded to the training and the support to the degree others have. So that's something that we can talk about in some of these future COPs. Next slide, please. So we need to, and what we're going to do. In fact, myself and Robin and some of the VCU staff and Dr. Strauser are meeting on Friday to kind of think about how we can best be delivering technical support and utilizing our consultants to a better degree. We are meeting weekly in most sites, biweekly or bi-monthly, depending on how you want to put that. In others, perhaps we need to be looking at the on-site TA being over the next 6 to 9 months. If we do have folks who are not getting and are not performing, do we need to think about making some changes there? I certainly don't anticipate that happening, but certainly something, because we are, the thing that we want to emphasize with this is that, year one of this project was a developmental year, getting staff on board, getting the scaffold of this project put together. Year two was a pilot year. Once we had some of our staff in place and we had our agencies selected and we had our ESs hired, it was a pilot year that we were gonna fire that test balloon and see if what we thought was going to work and what we thought would be effective was. So we've managed to tweak some of those things. Everybody completed the ACRE certification. There's been a considerable amount of technical support, both internally and externally. So year three, and it depends on how you want to measure year three. If we want to do it on a state fiscal year, on a federal fiscal year, I guess it doesn't really make any difference. But this is the year that we really should be starting to measure our effectiveness, and we really should be putting the pedal to the metal, using a trite term, but really utilizing the skills that we've been that have been should have been honed during this period of time, and really start to make an impact in placing some of our customers. So next slide, please. Okay. For those of you who have been in Robin's community, other communities of practice, she likes to use a motivational phrase. So this one is: what stands in the way becomes the way, and courage is contagious. So next slide, please. Okay, so Robin and I have kind of run our mouths here over the last 40 minutes or so. So now we kind of like to open this up to the floor. We've provided you with some stats and some thoughts on the project. Now we'd like to kind of get your feedback and your kind of start some dialogue from you guys as far as questions. What keeps you up at night as far as this project is concerned? How we can better support as a management team, again, both internally and externally. How we can make this as good a project as we can. Thoughts on that? I'll open it up to the floor.
So Jim, this is Robin, and I just wanted to let you all know that I'm still here and I'm taking notes. I'm not going to keep my microphone off. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not, but there's lovely piano music in the lobby of my mother-in-law's doctor's office. But it is quite distracting. So I can leave it on for elevator music while we chat, or I can go on mute. But I just wanted to let you know I'm still here. I'm still here, and I'm going to take some notes.
Thanks. Anybody want to start us out?
And I would say this is a small group. This is a time for everyone to be brutally honest about. I mean, I'm okay with you saying, "Hey, DRS, you need to do this," but truthfully, we've had some hard conversations with a few agencies just recently, and this is hard work. What we're doing is really hard work, and changing the entire way that a state operates and does business so that we can become more unified and do better for people with disabilities. That is, it's a hard job, but we need all of us here to come together and really be honest about the things that need to be changed and give some constructive feedback as to how we can do that. So, listening.
Come on now. Amanda, how about you? Up in Dixon. What's good? What's bad? What's just okay?
I was it's funny you called on me because I was just thinking like I don't know, we're like all in the project and we're really enjoying all the support and even the challenges we have. Like it's just a learning opportunity to be better. Um so I can't think of anything really specifically. I think the project is really great for Kreider and we're just really soaking it all in and just getting better each and every day. But I do have to say it's very hands-on and I love that. Like we are constantly um learning and evolving. Like why should we sit here and have to struggle when there's plenty of experts out there who are helping us um do it with best practices. So I really appreciate that.
So Amanda, I do have a question. Like, are there any kind of tools or aids or materials that we can provide that can help you understand or uh, more than or feel more independent in the process? Like eventually we're going to go away and we're going to need you all to do this work without us. So as we go along, we're here to hold your hands and kind of help you through all of the entire process. But when we're not here, what do you need from us so that you can
Yeah,
continue this work? So be thinking in those terms. Are there things that would be helpful for us
sure.
to develop?
I think, Robin, I think my feedback on that is definitely as a, um, well, myself and Brandy, and just as we had restarted this employment program, and it was, Kreider hadn't done one for 10 years or so. So as kind of like a newer CRP, um, that was tough because you're sort of just provided this manual of how to all the requirements that are needed to be a CRP. So just to come up with all your own documentation and just how the process works, that was a bit of a challenge to get through. So I think a suggestion for there would be like, I don't even know if you had like some sort of mentoring or just like a dummy course where you can kind of lay it all out there. It's just like, we think about high school transition students, and when they're at their IEPs, they're like handed all this paperwork and they're like, go forward and do all these great things. It just can be overwhelming at first.
Yeah, you guys were in sort of a unique situation, is that you weren't not only starting this project and moving individuals out of a workshop setting. You were starting your employment program back up again, period.
Right.
So this isn't like you had been doing this for a while. Yeah, I sort of forget that. Yeah.
Well, I think that it's really valuable for us to hear that feedback, Amanda, because if we think about like the 14 Cs and the agencies that are going to be transitioning out of 14C, they're not going to necessarily have the tools that they need. So while some of our more seasoned agencies have their materials already made, I'm really sorry about the music if you hear it. I don't know if you can hear it. It's great. Anyway, I think that if we do have templates and we do have, like, here's an example of what an IPP looks like. So I do feel like if we have those resources available, especially for new providers, say, hey, here are some examples. Then as you kind of go through it, you're going to revise and revamp your own and make your own to fit your need as well. So I think that's one thing that we've discovered in this pilot year, is that, having some consistent tools available for folks is going to be helpful. So thank you for saying that out loud.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. And you've got your camera on, so I'm guessing you wanna share something with us. What do you got?
Oh, not necessarily, but I will say something. But at first I was just trying to find everybody. I think it was just me. All I could see was you, Jim. So now I see everybody.
Well, that's unfortunate.
No, I think I appreciate all the support, have appreciated the partnerships and all of the help from Robin and Aletha and you, Jim, and everyone in this effort. I think the one thing that I will add, and, kind of, Robin, what you said about the fact that you guys won't, we have to do this job without you. When I think at it from, with that lens on, we have been doing employment programs for quite a while and have been kind of forward thinking in this space about competitive employment and those kinds of things. But as an example, I'm going to kind of keep beating the drum around how can we continue to bolster the providers that are on the ground in these communities. And all of our communities look different. Kind of like I said at the first executive summit, was when we started talking about the school liaison and the school relationships. Like, for example, we are in the schools and have those relationships with people. And so I think I just read an email about a new person being hired to address those relationships with schools. And I don't know how widespread her role will be, but, I think is there a way that we can look individually at the 6 organizations and say what's already happening with the provider in that community? And, if they already have relationships with schools, how can we start making those decisions now, forward thinking about, we are the ones that are going to be here. We're the ones doing that. We're the ones that have that. We have a need for more in that area. Why bring a brand new person into that situation when we're already doing that work?
I think that's great, and as usual, I'm a terrible host. I should have introduced, and this, I'm glad you brought that up. But this is you can ask her directly, because Christina Erland is our brand new liaison, who is going to be handling handling school districts within our catchment areas. So I'll let her introduce herself to all of you and maybe address your thought. Christina.
Hi, yeah, I'm Christina Erland, and I just joined the team about 3 weeks ago. I am a former educator myself, and then worked as a transition specialist. So I will be supporting all 6 agencies. I'm meeting with a lot of the DRS counselors to see kind of who they have relationships with, but I definitely do think that's a good idea. I talked to a few employment specialists about the schools in the area and the connections that they had to different schools within the area so that I can start to get out and meet people and kind of just do some connecting and whatnot.
Thanks. Courtney, how about you?
Oh, sorry, Jim, can I jump in just for a second?
Please do. Yes, please.
I had kind of a thought because I know that, and for your guys' organization specifically, and this has not been something that we have really talked much about, is how to handle your board and your active families that are really involved in your organization, invested. How can we help? Is there anything that we can do as a project to help move them forward in their thinking about competitive employment for their folks? So I think that's something that everyone here, I think, answers to a board. And a lot of those board members consist of family members of your clients. And so sometimes getting them to realize the abilities of their people is challenging, and to in safety and all the things that they're worried about, I think we need to be maybe thinking about how we're going to handle and how we can help you with that education of your governing bodies. So I just had that thought as I see you sitting here and talking about relationships with folks.
Happy to have any kind of help and support with that for sure.
I'm just curious, does any of the other agencies have that similar situation where they find some resistance from their board or the families? Just curious.
Courtney?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So Robin, thanks for bringing that up. That was number 2. I just had 2 things I wanted to share. Overall, the experience has been really great for us. We are an established agency with employment services. And so being part of this grant has been really great. But as far as feedback, I think I'll answer your question first, Robin, in that is definitely an area where we could use some help that I would like to see is talking to is speaking to families. What we started to do here before even being awarded the grant is just to start going out in the community, right? Like our other day programs, we have 7. So like our other day programs and getting our individuals just used to going out in the community. And even that has sparked some concerns from families because they say, we want our person to be working, used to the production work. And so that could just really be helpful. And I really, I want to give a shout out to Kyle, really partnering with us and supporting us in doing presentations. And we had Director Patrick out and Kyle was here for that. So even that type of kind of hands-on collaboration, even when we, if we decide to meet with families as a group, that will be helped just to see it's not just our agency, but something that the state is wanting to do and provide those, resources and support. So not to ramble on, but I think the answer is yes, that we could certainly use that type of support or talking points. That would be great. And then the second thing that I was going to bring up is, again, everyone has been really great. Our relationship with the DRS offices that we work with have been really just very positive. And I would say the only feedback, because we already had contracts with DRS, when we were trying to get the customized contract, that seems a little disjointed. So I would just say, from a system standpoint, because you all were asking for feedback, if that process could be a little bit more smoother for us. And even with our SEP contract that we already had, but we only had space for like one or two because we had a very heavy milestone contract because of our performance, which is good, but coming, having the grant, and we wanted more slots on our SEP. And then, of course, entering into customize, it just seemed a little disjointed to try to get those additional spaces on our existing SEP contract, and then just trying to get a new contract of a customized employment contract. So that will just be my feedback, but we've had a really positive experience throughout the entire project, and we really appreciate all of you.
So I will just say I did follow up on that customized employment contract, and honestly, and maybe it was I think from the beginning we've been talking about, hey, it would be a great idea if you had a menu of services. So talk to your advisors about, I think we should have probably been a little more direct with those instructions and say, hey, we're giving you the customized employment training. We want you to have a customized employment contract. So I think that us not being that explicit with the instructions for the project, I think has caused a little bit of a hiccup. However, I think in October, that is the plan. Once this fiscal year gets going and we can make amendments and add things, the expectation is that you have a customized employment contract in October. And that goes for all of the agencies that are on this call that do not have one. You're not alone. I think there might be one or two others that do not have the customized employment contract at this very moment. But we're wanting, and I'm working with Kristen to get that settled for October. So while right now it might be uncomfortable and not, really fit in overall, for the growth of your programs, it'll be good. We'll get it in place for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
So what? let me ask this. One of the things that I think about with this project as we head into our third year, with any sort of project, we want to keep the energy level high. This is a time limited thing, and 5 years at the beginning, it sounds like a long time, but it's not. So we want to try to keep things fresh. We want to have consistent, regular, meaningful conversation. And sometimes it seems like we need a lot, and we have work groups a lot, and we get together with consultants a lot. We throw a lot of information at you, but this is purposeful, to try and keep this fresh and to keep as much information at your fingertips as possible, meaning your entire agency. But is there anything that you hear from your staff, or you observe, that we could be doing to keep this energy level high and to keep this fresh, and this not be a drudgery? Not drudgery, that's a terrible term, but not be to where it becomes less energetic than what we feel like it has been. Is there anything maybe from the delivery of technical support or provision of information or whatever that might be? Any thoughts in that area? How about our friends at the workshop? Courtney, anything for us?
How did I know you were going to call on me? Um, I don't know if necessarily in that category. It kind of goes along more along employment specialists and like keeping it upbeat for them. I'm not sure if our employment specialists have reached out to you, but we actually just ran into a problem that I've not heard of. And the workshop has had community employment program for many, many years. And long story short, one of the customers called in sick because she was embarrassed that our employment specialist was wearing a workshop shirt on site. So I'm just kind of interested to see if any other agencies have come into that problem and what was the resolution.
So you're saying so the customer was embarrassed that an employment specialist who was providing support on the job had the organization's T-shirt name on their T-shirt.
Correct.
Or other shirts.
Courtney, I can chime in here
Go ahead.
for a minute. I'm going to have to hop off here in just a second, but
Please.
So when I was a teacher, we worked with 30 different businesses, and our students did not want to be identified as somebody needing assistance on the job. And I'm sure that doesn't change no matter where we are and what we're doing, working with people
Right.
with disabilities. So what we would always advise is we would want our job coaches to blend in with the work environment. So if the work environment had a specific uniform or a t-shirt or whatever, we would ask our job coaches to wear that so that they blend in with the work environment. So that would just be my initial suggestion is, if they're going to McDonald's, see if McDonald's will allow them to wear a McDonald's t-shirt to blend in, or if the dress code is a collared shirt and khaki pants, well, then that's what they should wear, or something similar. That's what I would do anyway, and it does seem to help when they blend in and they don't stand out like, I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. I totally understand it, but it just kind of threw me off guard because we've never had anyone kind of bring that to our attention of it bothering anybody. So it's definitely an eye-opener.
Well,
Yeah,
I hate that the customer called off work, but kudos to them for actually being honest about why.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Hi, this is Courtney from AID, and we're very similar to what Robin stated. We have our employment specialists. They're just in, regular clothes. They don't wear anything that identify them other than their name tag, but our name tags are very small and just our first name. But we also let them know just to talk to the, customer for their level of comfort as well. But that's really about it. And they can easily pop their name tags off. But as far as like their quote unquote uniform, they're just in regular clothes. So they're just kind of out in the community, like a buddy versus versus a staff person. So hope that's helpful.
Sure. Yes, thank you.
It's interesting that something that is seemingly as innocuous as that could cause such a problem. You never know.
Right.
You never know. We're dealing with humans. It's interesting. Of all the things that could possibly go wrong, or that they could do wrong, and it's that. So it's interesting. Interesting. So any advice or support that you could that anybody could provide to this team, Robin and myself, and we've got our community research specialists on the line as well as Dr. Strauser and Dr. Patrick and our communications team, all of us. Any advice from us as you look at this project from where you sit in this in the hierarchy of this, that you could say, you really ought to think about this, or have you thought about this?
Hi, Jim. This is Courtney
Yeah.
from AID. I would say, we've given now, I mentioned earlier, 2 presentations, one at the ARC conference, leadership conference, and then the second when Director Patrick visited our agency. But in thinking about that, I think that will be something that will be great to be encouraged. I don't know if other agencies on the call have done anything like that to, the community, right, of our industry. But I think partnering up with our our technical person is really great. Like if you have to give a presentation to your board, for example, to have a representative there from SWTC just really adds an additional level of commitment, from the state. It just shows the thoughtfulness and understanding that transitioning from a 14C model is not easy. And so I think it just shows the support that the agency is given, and it's just very transparent, about that, and to have someone there, and if the ability to do that in person or however those meetings are, I think has been really helpful. So that's just something, if that could be, encouraged or find those opportunities. And when we presented at our conference, I actually had the employment specialists do the presentations, right? I didn't do it as the executive. I had them do it, and that even gave them, that face of the agency and doing the work. So again, any opportunity where they can do that, I think it's great from an outreach standpoint, and just kind of put them out there and they can talk about the work that they're doing, which I think is volume versus a vice president like myself giving the presentation. So that's all that I would say. It's just been really great.
I think that's a great point. And, we have talked internally, actually about that, about perhaps somebody from the SWTC organization, probably the SWTC team rather, presenting to a board of directors at one of the agencies, and it would likely be the community research specialist who's assigned there would probably be the most appropriate, to talk about SWTC and about what we're doing. And we have talked about that. We didn't want to be intrusive or overstep, but if that's something that you feel as executives would be helpful and be somewhat impactful, we'd be happy to do that. I know we have talked to the CRSs have mentioned that before about getting board buy-in and making sure that executive staff and the board was advised and on board with John Silfies coming into the agency and doing that sort of thing. So we're certainly aware of the fact that of the impact that a board has on this. So if that's something you feel would be valuable, we'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
You bet. You bet. Anything that maybe the SWTC team would like to address with some of the exec staff? Any of our CRSs, or Janelle, Adriana, Dave?
Jim, this is Sharon. I was just gonna kind of chime in on what Courtney was saying, that Cindy and I talked about this yesterday, and Cindy too was taken. Cindy, who is the employment specialist, was also very surprised because in her 20 some plus years, she'd never had a person she was supporting point out that, you know, they were uncomfortable or they were concerned about wearing something that identified them as being from an agency, you know, to support people with disabilities and stuff. And so we did talk about, you know, that might be something to discuss when you're doing your, you know, the individual has gotten a job and you're going to talk to them about what your job coaching or your employment specialist on the job site is going to look like. That would be a great time to discuss where is the comfort level as far as, you know, or maybe you just as an agency make it, you know, if you're out on a job site, just try to blend in, whatever, because people are at different comfort levels. And I know when I was teaching, I sometimes had students that, because when I worked for the cooperative, I had an identifying lanyard with my my credentials on it. And I did have some students that were very, you know, that were more uncomfortable with me having that identifying piece of my clothing more so than others. So I'm glad that Courtney brought it up, because it is, you know, it is something to think about when we're, you know, looking at supporting our individuals.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well put.
Hey, Jim, Dave Strouser here.
Yeah.
Great to hear all this discussion today, and I appreciate everybody's time. One thing I'd want to say just as a whole is that I think our purpose really at U of I here is to support agencies, not go in and micromanage and try to duplicate their work. So I think that's a real big part of this, is to make sure that we work together with our participating agencies to support them and to help them reach their potential and to give them the resources that they need to do that, versus going in and trying to duplicate the work. And I think that's the purpose of our work, is to support versus go in and just, you know, do work or double up work. So I want to really emphasize that that's a really critical part here, what we do at U of I and our goal at U of I and how we view our mission related to this.
Okay. Thank you, Amanda. So I know we budgeted an hour and a half today. I think we covered a lot of ground. I hope you found this to be valuable. I hope you found it to be some of the dialogue to be useful. One of the things we wanted to do today, and we don't need to do it today, but as you move forward here, we're gonna do these on a quarterly basis, so that we're not intrusive on your time, but maybe be thinking about some topics that you feel might be appropriate to use. No problem, Lori. I appreciate you making the effort to be here. That's important. So if you know for future meetings, if there are things that come up, please let Robin or I know, and we'll be sure to include them. And if it's something that needs to be addressed immediately, we can do that. Go through your CRSs or reach out to us directly, however you feel more comfortable. But we feel like having regular, meaningful dialogue with this level of the project is important, because we often most of the time and intentionally so concentrate our efforts and our technical support on the frontline staff who are actually working with the customers. But we also realize that there are issues at the executive level too that need to be addressed for that or on this project. So we want to make sure that that our ears are open there too. So if there's nothing else, I'll give you back 16 minutes of your day. We appreciate your time. And we'll be talking to you soon. Hope to see you down the road.